Well, we started off barbecue season with our smoked pulled pork, and that turned out great. Now let's keep the train rolling with our smoked barbecued St. Louis style ribs. Let's get it on. Welcome to Sip and Sizzle. I'm Chris Lozano, and today we are going to be smoking some St. Louis style ribs. Oh yeah, buddy. You want to talk about barbecue season? Barbecue season is not barbecue season without some good smoked barbecued ribs. So that's what we're going to be getting into today. And then what I'm sipping on right here is called Juiced on Ponce. It's a Juicy IPA. It's a spinoff of the Night on Ponce, which is one of the flagship beers of Three Taverns Brewery in Decatur, Georgia. Now look, if you're not an IPA fan, I get it. A lot of people are turned off by the hop bitterness of IPAs. This one is very, very smooth. It really is, because of the juiciness of the citrus. That's what makes it a juicy IPA. It's just some citrus involved in it. But again, it's not overpowering. It's not like those mango beers or the lime beers that you get. The juice is very, very subtle from the citrus, but it's enough to cut that hop bite that you get with an IPA. So if you're kind of on the fence, like, well, I kind of don't really like IPAs, you ought to try this one out. It's really, really good. As you can see, nice golden color here, a very crisp beer. See, when it comes to hot weather, especially in summer, when I'm hanging out at the pool or doing some camping or hanging out with some friends in the middle of the day in the hot sun, I typically don't like an IPA or a real heavy beer like that, because to me it's not refreshing. That is not at all what this Juiced on Ponce IPA is. This Juiced on Ponce IPA is very, very refreshing, and it goes great in the hot weather. You know what? You finish mowing the lawn and you want a nice beer, this is a good one to go to. And of course, it pairs great with any kind of barbecue, especially these ribs that we're going to be making. So again, highly recommend the Juiced on Ponce IPA from Three Taverns Brewery. All right, so these St. Louis style ribs. I prefer the St. Louis style ribs over baby back. Don't get me wrong, baby back ribs are very popular and they're great. Me personally, I like the St. Louis style ribs. Now, what the St. Louis style ribs are is basically they're spare ribs that have been cut down to just the meaty part. And if you look here, you just have the meaty part right here. And if this was a full rack of like spare ribs, they'd be like this big. They would be really, really long. And so to get the St. Louis style ribs, they take those long racks of ribs and they just cut right down the middle to get you the meaty portion of this. To me, this has a little less marbleization than baby backs do. But again, to me, I like the tender part of the rib. Now, speaking of tender, I do not like my ribs fall off the bone. I don't. I like to have a little bite with the ribs. To me, ribs that fall off the bone are just ribs that are overcooked. But you can take it however you want. It's your preference. At the end of our cook, I'll give you a little tip on how to make these ribs fall off the bone, if that's your thing. But for me, the way I'm going to be teaching here now is to make the ribs tender, but they're not going to fall off the bone for you. Also with ribs, see, ribs, everybody has their preference. Their preferences on how they cook. You know, you're going to hear things like the 3-2-1 method. Some people actually stick them in the oven for like an hour before they put them out on the grill. We're not going to do any of that. We're just basically going to go for time and temperature, and basically how to look to see if these ribs are tender enough to be done. And we're going to go over some settings, not only for the grill that we're going to be putting them on, but the actual internal temperature of the meat. So follow along with me. If you have any questions at all whatsoever, leave me a comment or put one in the comment section, or leave me a comment, either or. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. So anyway, getting into this, what we're gonna do first off is we're gonna take off the membrane. A lot of people skip this step. I don't, for a couple of reasons. A, if you have the membrane on it, I don't like the way the bite feels. It's just not a good bite when you're looking at a texture thing. And also, on this backside with the membrane, your seasonings are not going to penetrate that membrane. So I like to pull off the membrane, and it's really easy to do. What you need is a butter knife, okay? Do not go get a fancy steak knife or a really sharp knife, because that defeats what the purpose here. So all we're using this butter knife for is just to create some friction here to where this membrane starts pulling away from the meat so we can grab it. And so if you have a sharp knife, like a steak knife, it's just gonna cut that membrane, and it's not really creating that friction to make the membrane bunch up so we can grab it. So that's what we're doing here, is we're just using that butter knife to create that friction. And then when we're finished, we got that little lip that we can pull. This is what your paper towel is for, because the paper towel is gonna keep your fingers from slipping off that membrane. It's gonna help you grip that membrane. So now that we've created the friction, we're gonna take the paper towel and we're gonna grab this membrane right here and pulling it off. Now sometimes it's not gonna come off in one fell swoop like this one did. It kind of went in half, but that's okay. Take the rest of it, pull it on off. It only takes just a few seconds to do, and believe me, those the extra few seconds is gonna matter when you taste that seasoning on the underneath of the rib. So now we're gonna get into seasoning these bad boys. Now you can season however you like. Use whatever you want. If you've got a favorite season rub combination, go for it. But what we're doing today is I'm gonna take adobo. This is actually the light version because it's a little bit lower in sodium, because we're gonna apply another seasoning, another rub on top of it. So I wanna kind of keep the sodium to a minimum with this first one. But yeah, if you look at one of the first videos I did, the grilled molasses flank steak, we'll put a card up there in case you haven't seen that video. I talk a little bit about adobo and my love for this seasoning. So that's what we're gonna do, is we're gonna start off with the adobo, and we're gonna give it a nice little coat on the bottom here. And then I'm gonna switch to the Gospel from Meat Church. This is a wonderful, wonderful rib rub. It is not very peppery, and it is not spicy whatsoever. Even my wife, who avoids spice like the plague, she likes this seasoning. So we're gonna go ahead and give it a coat. And you can do this, and this is not a very bold rub either. You know, you can be very liberal with this. So don't worry about over seasoning these ribs with this spice. All right, now we're gonna flip it over, and we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Again, get that first layer of adobo down, making sure we're covering everything. So now we got the adobo, pulling in with the Gospel again. And let me tell you another thing about this Gospel seasoning. It is a very pretty seasoning. And you'll see what I'm talking about. We'll give you a little close-up shot here a little bit after these seasonings adhere. Now, what about a binder? Sometimes I use a binder, sometimes I don't. With ribs, it doesn't really matter. Again, it comes down to a personal preference. Some people like to use like olive oil as a binder. Some people use mustard as a binder. Some people use Worcestershire sauce as a binder. When it comes to ribs, a very simple seasoning. And you don't even have to do this the night before. If you have an hour before your cook, that's plenty. We're probably just gonna do about 20, 30 minutes here for purposes of this video. But again, the binder is completely a personal preference. You can do fine without it. And so anyway, we're gonna come back here in a few minutes after this seasoning had time to adhere, and you're gonna see how pretty it looks. And that's before we even put it on the grill. See you in a minute. Okay, we're out here at the grill now, and we're gonna bring the grill up to 275 degrees. We're only lighting one burner because we want that indirect heat side to put the ribs on. And so we do have a surface thermometer in the indirect side to measure the heat of the grill. So now it is up to 275 degrees. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and put the pellet smoker tube down over the lip burner. So please, if you don't know how to use the pellet smoker tube, check out the instructional video that I made. We'll put a card up here actually to show you how to use that smoker tube that I just put down there. Anyway, getting back to this beer that I'm drinking, Said it was from 3 Taverns in Decatur, Georgia. It's called Juiced on Ponce. Well, first off, it's kind of funny because Ponce is the name of a very popular street in Atlanta called Ponce de Leon Avenue. Now, me being Mexican, my wife being Puerto Rican, she does not like me saying Ponce de Leon. She wants me to say it like it's supposed to be said because Ponce was Hispanic and used to pronounce his name Ponce de Leon. But for beer purposes, this is a spinoff of a night on Ponce. Now, I realize if you're not from Georgia, you probably do not have access to this beer because of distribution. If you do, great, it's a wonderful beer. But note the style. It's a juiced IPA. And again, that juice is very subtle in the taste profile of the beer, but it cuts that hop bite that usually keeps people from drinking IPAs. Anyway, just a note of clarification there, and a funny little thing about the name. All right, now as you can see, our smoke tube has caught. I'm actually using 2 smoke tubes, and so now since the first one has caught, what we're gonna do is we're going to slide it on over, and we're gonna make way for the second tube. So once this first tube extinguishes and is burned all the way through the pellets, this second one will really be getting started. So now, again, our thermometer's reading 275 degrees. It's time to put the ribs on. Again, this is the indirect side. Look at these ribs. I told you that that seasoning was pretty. You can't find a more gorgeous set of St. Louis style ribs right here. So we're gonna put this over the indirect side. Let the smoke tubes do their thing. And we're gonna cook the ribs to 165 degrees internal. Then we're going to pull them off, add some buttery, sugary goodness, wrap them in foil, and put them back on the grill to finish the cook. See you in a few minutes. Well, it's been about an hour and we're ready to pull these ribs off the grill. They're actually at 165 exactly. I've been temping them along the way. Now, a couple of things that I forgot to mention earlier. I'm using the pellet that I'm using are a combination of hickory and oak, just to kind of get a more of a smoky flavor. But we're actually going to go with a sweet seasoning coming up when we go back in the kitchen. And some people during the cook here, they like to spritz their ribs with some apple cider vinegar, apple juice. Some people even use pineapple juice, what have you. Again, that is a personal preference. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. I'm not doing it for this particular video. But yeah, we're gonna pull these off again. They're at 165 degrees. If you do not have a meat thermometer, I highly suggest you get one. And so we're gonna go back in the kitchen and then we'll go to the next step of our cook. So we're back in the kitchen now, and of course you may have noticed that I now have 2 racks of ribs when you only saw me prepping 1 earlier. But let's face it, my family's very hungry and 1 rack's just not going to cut it. So anyway, so here we go. We're gonna take a rack of ribs here. And what I have here is I have some extra, heavy duty aluminum foil. I'm gonna wrap this in 2 sheets of that. But beforehand, I'm gonna take some brown sugar. And again, this is a stage where people can get really, really creative. I've seen people put, some rib candy, some pepper jelly, even some barbecue sauce on it at this stage. I've seen people put hot sauce on it. But today, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to I have some light brown sugar here. I'm gonna take some knobs of butter, put about 5 here. And then I am going to drizzle it with some pure agave nectar. This is some organic agave in the raw. And just do a nice little drizzle on this right here. And we're going to wrap this up. Again, I got 2 sheets here. I'll flip this over. And I'm gonna take it back out on the grill, and we're gonna do face side down, meat side down on the grill. And we're going to grill these to 202 degrees internal. Now, as I said earlier, to get them to 165, that was an hour. Now that's on a gas grill at 275 degrees. I learned the hard way that gas grills tend to cook food faster than what you see like on your typical smoker, like these Traeger pellet grill or these Traeger pellet smokers, these offset smokers. That cook time is a lot longer than a gas grill. So if you're watching this video and you're saying, okay, well I do the 3-2-1 method and you know, that's a long time, but it gets my ribs done. Trust me, this method is working. You're with me the whole way through. You saw that 165 degrees, 1 hour. So I'm thinking another hour to get this to 202 degrees, exactly where we want it. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna wrap up this second rack of ribs and put it back out on the grill. We have the ribs wrapped and ready to go. We're back out here at the grill. Again, we're gonna put them meat side down right here. As you can see, our pellet tubes have already burnt their way through. That's okay, we're not using any more smoke anyway. So again, we're gonna put this down. We're still holding at 275 degrees on the surface thermometer there. And again, using our handy dandy meat thermometer, we're gonna keep checking this until they're 202 degrees. And that's gonna be probe tender. Like you shouldn't, when you stick the thermometer into the meat, you shouldn't have any resistance. You should just slide in there like you're going through butter. That's what I mean by saying it's probe temperature. So it's probably gonna take another hour, maybe a little more, but I'm gonna check this just to kind of get a barometer or to get a feel. I want to check it at about 30 minutes and see where we're at temp-wise, and we're going to go from there. It's going to tell me how often I should keep checking back because we really don't want to go over 202 degrees. If you pull them at 200 or 201, that's going to be fine. But you start getting past 202, now you're starting to get into overcooked ribs, and we don't want that. All right, we have temped these ribs, and they are sitting at 201. And as you can see, when they start getting done, you can see how the meat starts peeling away. Let me turn on the light here. It starts peeling away from the bones just a bit. You can see it over there, you can see it down here. And so we did temp them. They're sitting at, yeah, like 201, probably carryover cooked about 202. But so now what we're gonna do is we're going to make a little boat here with the aluminum foil because I like to keep my grill as clean as possible. And just to let you know, I've got these cotton gloves underneath these nitro gloves here, so that's how I'm able to handle this hot food. So anyway, so this is what we're gonna do. And we're gonna start putting some barbecue sauce on here, and we're gonna leave them on here for about another 5-10 minutes just to tack up. But the barbecue sauce I'm using is Meat Mitch's Whomp sauce. I like the Naked. The Naked is a sweeter sauce. The regular Meat Mitch's Whomp sauce has kind of got a little bold kick to it. But this one is Naked, and it goes well with the sweet motif, as you could say, we got on here with the sugar and the butter and the Agave Nectar. So that's what we're going to do to both of these racks here. Just go ahead and paint on this barbecue sauce here. And these ribs are just looking fabulous here. I mean, you can't ask for a better looking rib. You can't, you really can't. So yeah, this is what we're going to do. Got a nice little coat of Meat Mitch's Naked Whomp sauce painted on there. And I'm gonna do the same thing to this other rack, and we'll see you back in the kitchen to see how we did. We're back in the kitchen now with our finished product. You know, I told you earlier in the video, I give you a tip on how to make your ribs fall off the bone. You know how I told you that we pulled them off at 202 degrees when they were wrapped in foil? Keep them on there until they're about 210 degrees. And they'll be nice and overcooked, but they'll fall off the bone for you. I know that's not a popular opinion about the overcooked ribs being the fall off the bone ribs. But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. You know, you can let me know in the comments below how wrong I am. But anywho, let's see how we did, shall we? We're gonna go ahead and do a nice little cut on these bad boys. Oh yeah, look at that. Nice and tender. And that is a good bite too, right there. Wonderful, wonderful bite. And this juiced on punch IPA, oh, it goes great with it. The sweetness of the citrus in the IPA, along with the sweetness of the sauce, and of course, the brown sugar and the butter and the agave nectar. I mean, they're singing a melody. They're singing in harmony with one another. This is great. So anyway, that's it. You can't get a better summer barbecue than this. St. Louis style ribs and a nice juicy IPA. It's just great. So hey, listen, if you really dig what we're doing here, I would really appreciate it if you liked the video, hit the thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out a lot. And by us, I mean not only myself, but my son Christian, who's the one that's behind the camera right now. He's also the one that puts these videos together with the editing. It helps us out tremendously, so that'd be great. So anyway, there you have it, another Sip and Sizzle. Chris Lozano here, reminding you to support your local businesses, support your local breweries. I hope you have a wonderful summer. We'll be back in a few weeks with another video. Until then, cheers.